Hello and welcome to class. Today I wanted to talk a bit about TOEFL independent writing. A lot of my students have told me that this is the most intimidating or maybe the most difficult part of taking the test, so I want to talk about some tips and tricks to help you work on your independent writing. Now, writing while being timed is often the intimidating part, and it's not a natural activity at all. Normally, when we're writing our emails or writing a letter, we have our tools, we have our dictionaries, right? We have plenty of time to think. But there are strategies that we can use and learn to become more successful at writing for a timed test. So I want you to think for a moment, take a moment to pause the video if you need to. What strategies do you use while you're writing? Do you use any? Do you just write what comes to mind like you're speaking? Hopefully I can help reframe some ideas for you. Now here are a few strategies that I think are important we can utilize when writing essays for English proficiency tests. The biggest one is pre-writing or brainstorming. Before you even write your first sentence, I want you to know how you're going to start and how you're going to end your paragraph or your essay. Starting your essay with a plan. It's like before you cook. The French phrase, mise en place, you put your mess in place. You get all of your ingredients ready to cook. It's the same for writing. You need all the parts to put together. Now the parts, or the ingredients, of an essay are your main points and your supporting reasons. Now, another really important thing for the TOEFL specifically, it's part of the US, and that's to have an opinion. In many cultures, expressing an opinion directly in an essay can be considered ungraceful or rude. But in American English, when you're taking the TOEFL, in English writing, the thesis statement is the first sentence of an essay. I've heard thesis statement 10,000 times in my life. Throughout middle school and high school and college, you always need to have a thesis statement in your essay. Now, what exactly is a thesis statement? It's one sentence, always the first sentence of the essay. It clearly identifies the topic being discussed, the main point of your essay, and the points you'll make in your paper, or the supporting reasons. Now, when you come to this pre-writing and brainstorming graph here, you'll see we have the main point. Thesis statement is normally formatted in that sentence, so when we're talking sentence structure, we have main point, because reason, reason, and reason. And add as many reasons as you have in your essay there. Maybe it's just 2. Maybe it's 5. Normally about 3 is the sweet spot to be for an essay the size of TOEFL. Okay, so here's an example. You see the green is the main point. Peanut butter and jelly sandwiches are the best type of sandwich because they are versatile, easy to make, and taste good. You see the yellow parts of that sentence are the reasons. That's how you format your thesis statement. And that's exactly how you should start your essay. And now that you have this, you have a structure for exactly how you want to write your essay. Your main point, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches are the best type of sandwich. Okay, you have that out there. And now you're going to talk about each reason in order. You don't want to mix them up. When you have them in order in the thesis statement, that's the order you want to talk about. So first you'll say peanut butter and jelly sandwiches are so versatile. That means they can do a lot. They can go in your kids' school box lunches. They can be on a nice picnic date, romantic date. They could be a main course. Maybe that's a bit of a stretch. But in my essay, I'm going to stick to my main point because having an opinion in American English is super important. Okay? And then I would say, and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches are easy to make. There are only 3 ingredients. You don't need to cook anything. It only takes maybe 5 minutes total. And then finally, they taste good. They're delicious. Even though it's only 5 minutes, I'm going to enjoy eating the sandwich. And that's my full essay. I already have the full structure from just the first sentence by taking some time, pre-writing, and brainstorming my full essay out. Now, remember we talked about how in American English, having an opinion is important, right? And in other cultures, maybe that's not the truth. So let's hear some opinions from some other people who are learning to write American or British or any other type of English essays.
Well, I think Americans are really direct. Sometimes they seem to be rude to me, looking from a Colombian perspective. Let's see, when I'm walking on the street in Colombia, in Bogota, my city, if I meet somebody on the street, I stop, and if it's a man, I shake his hand. If it's a woman, I kiss her. Here, I mean, people just pass and they don't say hello. Sometimes they ask me, how are you doing? And they don't wait for my response. So I think that's kind of rude. And I think that is reflected in the way Americans write papers. They go straight to the point. They don't take the time to establish a relationship between the writer and the reader. And I think that's important in my culture. Well, I have a personal example. 2 weeks ago, I wrote an email to my friends in Colombia, and I asked them when was the birthday of one of our friends. And I went straight to the point. I didn't say anything else. And their reply was, "You are so rude, so unpolite. You didn't ask us how we were doing. You didn't say anything about you." And they were right. They were completely right.
I think that's so interesting because very often in my life I'll say, "How you doing?" and someone will respond, "How you doing?" And that's it. We don't even say good. We're just saying hi, really. We're not really asking how you are. He's very right. He's very right, and it is reflected in our papers. So take a moment, maybe pause the video, and think about what would an American student, what would I have to change about my writing style, a very rude writing style, to adapt to the cultural expectations in your country? What are the writing expectations in essays? What were you taught in your education? And how is that different from American TOEFL writing? Here's another strategy, and that's to learn sentence patterns that you can use comfortably. This is the best way to increase your sentence fluency, to make different sentences in an essay, to show versatility. Back to the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Here are the 4 sentence structures in American English. There's the simple, compound, complex, and compound complex. If you're not familiar with these sentence structures, I'll be making another video soon, so be sure to come back to check that out. It's a great way to really develop your English fluency and really impress with your writing. Now, the most important thing that you can do, the last strategy I'm going to share, is to practice. It's just a practice. You need to practice writing and to practice timed writing because it's more intimidating to only have a half an hour to write an entire essay. It's intense. Make sure you practice timed writing. Here are a couple of goals for your writing response. To kind of summarize, our strategy is make sure that you have that thesis statement. Main point, because reason, reason, and reason. That will help structure your entire essay. Make sure there's variety in your sentence structures. That's the best way to make your English sound more fluent. And have a goal of 250 words when you practice your writing. I think that this is the least most important part, especially when you're practicing. Work on the quality before the quantity. You'll get to the quantity. Just take some practice. Now, here are a couple of options for you. A few writing prompts. You can find literally thousands of these online of older TOEFL writing options that have actually been used in the test. That's what I recommend using. But here are a few options as well. I think I have one more slide too. This is from a class I did in person. Yep, one more prompt there for you. All right. Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope that you got something out of it. Feel free to send me a message if you have any questions. Take care.